Hey guys, it's Jack here, and thank you so much for joining us for our annual Halloween special on the top 10 Godzilla movies. This has been a long time coming, a very fan-requested topic, and we want to thank you guys along with our sponsors on Patreon. If you guys want to go support our channel, just $1 more will get you early access to all of our content as well as other special features. There's also so many cameos on this episode, way too many in fact to count to even name them all, so I'll just leave their links down below, either in the comments or the description. I'm not sure how much I can fit in the description nowadays, but I'll try to leave as many as I can. This was a lot of hard effort to put together, and on top of that, this will be the second last episode of Season 7 because we're in the middle of our Season 7 finale, which is also acting as our 10th anniversary special. It'll be coming out very soon. We'll have a trailer out, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the show, and we'll see you in the finale. Take it easy. The following is a fan-based video review under fair use. Godzilla characters and movies are all owned by Toho Studios, Surabaya Productions, Sony Pictures, Funimation Productions, Legendary Pictures, Warner Bros. Discovery, and the Tomoyuki Tanaka estate. Please support the official release and streaming services.
Congratulations on a successful mission, BigJackFilms. You and your friends have proven yourselves worthy to the duty of Power Rangers.
Hey, why didn't you use 18 to use the Pink Ranger powers, Jack?
She was on a diplomatic mission in another universe, so she was unavailable.
No! If out of the way, the invasion can proceed faster.
I'm mapping out the route to Unit 205. It's the last known location of Dr. Terawat. He's the only one who can rebuild the FTT to fend off this invasion.
Jack, no one has seen Dr. Terawat for years.
I got your message about the fuel supply you need. It will take time to replicate more, now that we're on high alert here.
You have an update from your hired official on his assignment of the King's Gauntlet.
The enemy forces advancing and scattering throughout. It wouldn't hurt to get some backup.
Take this, drop this well. It'll bring you to me when the time comes.
BigJackFilms here, and welcome to another review. And happy Halloween 2022, everybody! It's the first normal one in 3 years. The kids are out trick-or-treating. And I was debating what I was going to talk about this year. For the last few years, I've had a Halloween special now and then to celebrate the spooky season. In 2016, I covered the villainous Suicide Squad, while also leaving the circus under weak circumstances.
Pussies.
Pussy, are you fucking kidding me? What do you even see in that guy? In 2020, I covered the classic Universal Studios monster movies. Which, by the way, that Dracula debacle, I couldn't find any clues on. Hope Gabler hasn't found out. And last year, I covered the awesome adventures with the O'Connells with Mummy Month. It almost cost me the city. We are in serious trouble. I'm still plucking sand from my old place last year. But the question remains, with the theming this year and coming up on my 10th anniversary, I figured I'd go back to my roots. I know a lot of you mostly came around this channel thanks to my still continuing King Kong reviews since 2013. And while I have taken a break from my love of the giant ape, there's one other monster spawned from the series that has been one of my most heavily requested to discuss on my show. So at long last, I'm finally going to be delivering something you, the fans, have been asking for since day one. That, of course, being the legendary Beast of the East and the King of the Monsters with, of course, Godzilla. Now, full disclosure, as much as I'm more Team Kong, I love the hell out of Godzilla. Created in 1954 by Tomoyuki Tanaka, and the first film being helmed by apprentice to Akira Kurosawa, Ishiro Honda, the Godzilla franchise has been a natural storm to be reckoned with for close to 70 years, introducing the world to the iconic radioactive dinosaur, destroying model cities, fighting and introducing other giant monsters, bad dubbing, amazing crossovers, music, merchandise, theme park attractions, and the character himself in a record of 37 motion pictures and still counting! Holy goddamn! I don't even think King Kong has that many movies in his name. And this coming from the guy who's covered a ton of the Great Apes history, getting close to 100 episodes at some point. But unfortunately, with so many movies this guy has been in and not enough days of the month to talk about all of them, I kinda have to make a compromise to the fans with...
So are you gonna review them all as perhaps double or even triple features?
No.
Daily, like Monster Madness?
No.
He's going to cover them in one episode per era.
Look, I said I don't have time!
He's probably just gonna remaster all of my Super Kaiju Binge episodes.
Those are later, Nick, but...
The Heisei era and the Millennium era?
Stop it!
I heard the merchandise is pretty rad.
But...
What about the Reptar episodes as a parody corner?
Will you shut up?
Except for Godzilla in 1998.
I'm just trying to...
Godzilla the animated series.
The original, Ujiro.
Okay.
Monstrous Godzilla.
But...
Destroy all monsters.
Hey, bro.
I saw it when I was a very little kid. I watched it.
Many people consider Godzilla
Alright, shut up! Oh, compromise! This is BigJackFilms' top 10 goddamn Godzilla movies! Wait, did I just come up with a bad pun title for this episode? God damn it! Number 10. Godzilla Tokyo SOS. Starting off with an entry in the Millennium series, and one of the few in that era that was a direct follow-up to the last Godzilla film, Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla, the film continues the bizarre but fascinating incarnation of one of Godzilla's most iconic enemies with his cybernetic doppelganger. And I mean that quite literally, given it's a cybernetic resurrection of the original 54 Godzilla, whose subconscious hacks into his robotic shell and constantly attacks Tokyo. But at this point, Kiru, as he's called in this adaptation, is more in control and more focuses on Godzilla and Mothra, adding her original film to the canon of the story, who's upset that the humans use Godzilla's bones to revive him, and her countermeasures to battle with the new Godzilla and to keep Kiru in line to a degree. The concept of this duology alone tying to the original Godzilla and Mothra films is definitely enough to make it one of the best of the Millennium series. But what's great about it comes in the form of the amazing effects work at Toho Studios. While many say the next film and the last film of that era, Final Wars, was where the heart and soul was in terms of the film's effects, I felt Tokyo SOS was honestly peak suitmation that to this day hasn't been quite perfected. The high frame rate on the monsters, such as one of my favorite shots of Godzilla just trashing through the city in a dolly shot, the glowing lights of the Mothra puppet, the epic score and editing to it all, this is one of the best Godzilla films for the visuals alone, and the effects artists were on the top of their game by this film. While the human characters, like most, are discarded by the majority of the audience, it makes up for it as a direct sequel and with some awesome spectacle of action set pieces, making it to the top 10 quality on our countdown. Number 9. Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Now this one gets a lot of flack from Godzilla films as one of the worst? Really, guys? You're putting this movie on par with badness as this?
Godzilla says that I should learn to fight my own battles, you know.
Okay, well, despite both Godzilla's chibi sons as fodder for both films, Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla has a few things going for it as a personal favorite for me. For one thing, again, the effects are phenomenal, both on Earth and in space! Second, the movie is a straightforward plot you'd see in an anime movie, especially with a form of the hero's power being duplicated, this time from an alien space crystal, being fused with Godzilla's nuclear cells that flew off Mothra when she went off into space in one of the previous entries, Godzilla and Mothra, The Battle for Earth. Whew! But if there's anything, unlike other mutated duplicates that can be either too dumb or too controlling, like say Nuclear Man or Bizarro with Superman, Space Godzilla is highly intelligent by kidnapping Godzilla Jr., creating a crystallized castle like the Fortress of Solitude, all to draw his Earth's originator into a final battle of who is the true Godzilla. To me, this is one of the best action-oriented films of the Heisei era that is just the simple plot of
rescue the damsel in distress, kill the bad guy, and save the world.
The movie also has Godzilla for what seems like the first time in the Heisei series team up with the humans and another mech monster, Moguera, created as almost a stationary smaller Mechagodzilla that can go into space. While the movie is sinking with some rushed effects and pointless characters, you can't help but to attempt to salvage some things, and Space Godzilla as a villain is one of my favorites in the Monsters Rogues Gallery, as a highly intelligent animal and terrifying design. If you could turn off some issues with it, it's a good flashy film and a fun monster brawl for the Heisei era. Number 8. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. Pretty long fucking title, isn't it? Now this, like many have stated, is one of the best entries, not just in the series, but in my opinion, my favorite of the Millennium era. The plot is another direct sequel to the original, but reinvents many of the monster characters. This time, Mothra is given a much more sleeker and movable design, and reevaluates one of Godzilla's greatest foes as a hero, an ancient protector of mankind with King Ghidorah. Also, Baragon from Frankenstein Conquers the World is in here too. But of course, Godzilla is re-established not just as the main antagonist, but has one of my favorite designs, going not just back to the look of the original, but includes great white shark-based eyes.
And those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming.
But also has the creature manifested from the lost souls of World War II and the atomic bombs dropped on Japan, as taking revenge on their country and humanity for forgetting their sacrifices. Deep stuff! The action scenes are amazing, the tone is pretty damn intense when seeing all the collateral human damage the monsters bring, and the special effects are some of the best in the series all in all, perfecting mostly the CGI and having Godzilla do some pretty cool shit. It also makes mention of the 1998 film, making the monster Zilla canon to the film, and a hilarious jab at it failing as a Godzilla movie.
The New York attack was Godzilla, right? Our guys here have doubts.
Which later paid off fully in Final Wars. Man, the only thing missing is to see Zilla go out in a poetic operatic note to the likes of Pavarotti. I'm Overall, GMK is a kick-ass epic, and is a good standalone film in the series. But with this being my favorite film in the Millennium series and the last on this countdown, let's see what's next and what could possibly place this film on the number 8 spot. Number 7. Godzilla 1985, or The Return of Godzilla. Much like most fans of the 80s and 90s, this was one of my first Godzilla movies, and one of my favorites for that reason. I rented this one countless times on VHS back in the day, and to this day, I still love it for its outstanding updated effects from the Showa era, and its dark tones that match the original. In fact, this could be one of the first soft reboots of cinema acting as a direct sequel to 54 and ignoring all the other entries in the series. The plot, depending on which cut, but I'm going with the American version, My Show, My Rules, showcases the return of Godzilla to Japan since 1954, and the fears of its Japanese citizens with how to handle the monster conflicted with the still growing fears of Cold War tensions. Ironically, this movie coming out the same year as Threads in Japan, and sticks to almost the same tone while still entertaining its audience with the title character.
Something I'm sure indie fan is laughing at me for.
Oh, it's informative and you know it.
You're lucky I bring it up at all, pal. Don't you have to talk about Battle Royale soon?
Yep. Still waiting on that.
And yeah, what makes this movie great is how freaking dark it is with its tone. Something the series doesn't really stick with most of the time, and that comes from its powerful visuals with the Godzilla suit and model work, dark flammable lighting, all of which getting a major overhaul. Godzilla's framing and the shots look horrifying, and the music, while not using much of the original themes, provides a new terrifying theme that I can only describe as the theme to the Godzilla Father. American cut while annoying you with Dr. Pepper adverts.
I really don't see the problem at all.
Also made the smart editing move to bring back Raymond Burr, who played Dr. Steve Martin, the hero character in the American cut of the original film Godzilla King of the Monsters, and to this day, outside of the awesome dark tone and effects work, he is one of the highlights of the film. Though I do question why he's visually channeling Orson Welles for some reason.
All they'll do is confuse and antagonize him further.
Ah, the French.
But regardless, it was good to see him back in the role, and respecting the original source material, providing one hell of an emotional final monologue.
Nature has a way sometimes of reminding man of just how small he is. She occasionally throws up the terrible offsprings of our pride and carelessness, to remind us of how puny we really are in the face of a tornado, an earthquake, or a Godzilla. The reckless ambitions of man are often dwarfed by their dangerous consequences. For now, Godzilla, that strangely innocent and tragic monster, has gone to Earth. The things he has taught us remain.
It's a well-loved film to the fans, and I'm on the same Lucky Dragon boat on this one. In fact, the film is so iconic to the fans that they made mention of it in an episode of Rugrats with the episode Reptar 2010, for which Reptar is a major love letter to the Godzilla movies from the show's creators. And if an episode of a popular Nickelodeon show could pay homage in an episode title, then it's clear that this movie left a massive impact. Godzilla 1985 is a dark tragedy that matches the original and is worth the watch for first-time fans.
I mean, it's not like I know a legendary kaiju YouTuber who drools over this movie.
What? Who are you people? Wait, where am I? Aren't I supposed to be on Brandon TENOLD's videos? What's BigJackFilms?
Number 6. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Now this one is a childhood rental classic and one of the best of the Showa era. Acting as a 20th anniversary film after years of more kid-friendly fodder to the character, Toho decided to bring Godzilla back to basics, but also keep consistency with the series and introducing Mechagodzilla to the pop culture, starting off disguised as the real Godzilla attacking Tokyo and framing him as a traitor to his homeland.
You could call it a Mechagodzilla.
After fighting Anguirus, though, the human characters realize it's a robotic imposter controlled by the Planet of the Apes. No, seriously, the villains are space apes clearly inspired from the Apes movies dominating the box office at the time. Hell, most of the Godzilla movies pay homage to Hollywood films, from James Bond to Terminator 2. With Godzilla getting his ass kicked in his first fight with Mechagodzilla, the world now relies on an ancient god awakened by an annoying yet catchy prey song known as King Caesar. Most people either like this song or hate this song, but personally, I frickin' love it. It's 70s cheese, but it's also pretty damn catchy and epic. This is another entry that's had a lasting impact on pop culture, and again, much like 85, the creators of Rugrats went even further in dedication with the full 2-part special Runaway Reptar, both in plot, bad dubbing, and all of which being one of the best episodes of the entire series.
It's too late, my friends. I'm afraid Tokyo is doomed.
It's clear at the time Toho knew they needed to bring back what they lost while balancing out the continuity, and it really paid off. Unless you count the sequel, Terror of Mechagodzilla's box office failings. From the action scenes, introducing the world to the menacing Mechagodzilla, the monster's designs, and even being one of the best cast of human characters, this is an awesome monster mash and a great pre-finale to the Showa era. Definitely check this one out.
Damn Godzilla. You're mistaken if you think your powers are a match for Mechagodzilla.
Number 5. Godzilla, King of the Monsters. In my opinion, this is my favorite of the legendary era. Shocking, I know, that this film tops Godzilla vs. Kong and other entries in the Monsterverse. The reasons are simple and go back to the 80s. For what seemed like an eternity, it took over 30 years of attempts and fails for Hollywood to make a big-budget Godzilla movie. But due to cancelled attempts, Toho's grips on the IP, and previous failed entries from 1998 and even 2014, finally did Hollywood get it right. In the 80s, the 3D film was planned with stop motion, but got scrapped. In 1994, the director of Twister was attached and Stan Winston's team was tasked to design Godzilla, and as you can see, they could have had something really special. But then Roland Emmerich came in and was a fucking hack in making the 1988 film.
That's a lot of fish.
I will never get tired of that clip, let alone forgive it. Afterwards, the concept of a Hollywood Godzilla movie just seemed like a dead idea for over a decade. But with the surprise success of Cloverfield in 2008, the interest in the kaiju genre became popular again, and Warner Brothers saw a sure thing in getting the IP from Toho to produce a proper adaptation of the character, and in 2014, 60 years after the original film, we finally got a Hollywood Godzilla movie. With Godzilla. But we couldn't fucking see it most of the time! Seriously, we know what Godzilla is and we know what we paid for! Why do you tease us and deprive us of a proper remake of 54? I liked the movie when it came out, but the more I rewatch it, the more I hate it. And I was really worried about the planned sequel. But after the surprise fun I had with Kong Skull Island and Gareth Edwards out, my hype was rekindled with the plans for the sequel titled King of the Monsters, as a nod to the original film's American cut. So, with some amazing trailers, to be fair, the trailers for all the MonsterVerse movies have been incredible, I saw King of the Monsters on a whim and came out overly satisfied. Not only did they get the tone down, not only are the designs that effects visually impressive and respect the iconic monsters, but the use of the iconic music by Akira Ifukube and Blue Oyster Cult by Bear McCreary, Hollywood succeeded where others failed. And everyone hated it! What the flying Baron fuck, guys? This movie was fucking awesome! What kind of Faro Island berry juice alcohol are you drinking to think this movie sucked?
You are out of your goddamn mind.
And I have absolute respect for the entire cast and crew on this one. Godzilla is incredible with his amazing powers and abilities. Rodan is massive with that awesome dogfight scene. Mothra is absolutely gorgeous with both her wingspan, scale, hint at the Twin Fairies, and the amazing themes, despite not using the chance, but I'll let Bear McCreary slide on this one. There's plenty of covers on YouTube. And King Ghidorah? Jesus Christ on the Devil's Fork! The movie is a love letter to the series, more so than any other entry. The budget and scale is there, and even with the awesomeness of GVK, King of the Monsters is the Godzilla movie of fans' dreams, and was honestly worth waiting for. Maybe it came out too late, but we should be grateful for this monstrosity, saving our faith in good Hollywood Godzilla movies.
Long live the king.
Number 4. King Kong vs. Godzilla. Yeah, if you didn't like me putting King of the Monsters over GVK, you're not gonna like me here. Don't get me wrong, Godzilla vs. Kong is a great entry, and effects-wise, it's a superior film. But the concept and charm of these two monsters duking it out from the original 1962 film is why it's my personal favorite. As not just a great Godzilla film, but just a classic monster movie all in all. The story follows up on the first sequel, Godzilla Raids Again, with Godzilla reawakening from his ice-sealed prison and attacks Japan while a commercial executive captures King Kong from his uncharted island, and the two monsters manage to meet up multiple times in a battle for dominance in Japan. The making of the film is a little controversial with the rights holders and creators on both sides, but the execution is an entertaining one and delivered on an intriguing concept. While the Kong suit is trash, Japan respects the original King Kong and did their best to give the character new light for a worldwide audience while also paying tribute to the original film. I've talked about this film multiple times and I don't want to repeat myself, but you can see why. So if you want more details and analysis, check those videos out. But it's why it's one of my favorites and in the top 5. King Kong vs. Godzilla. Just the title alone is entertaining enough to draw anyone's attention. And you think with all these cameos that you would expect the nerd to pop in. No, he was unavailable this time. No, seriously, he's got Monster Madness to deal with and all that stuff. I'm dead serious, he's not available in this episode. Don't even bother. Go to number 3. You guys have way too much expectations on this show, don't you? Number 3. Shin Godzilla. Now, for a while, this movie was on my radar when it was coming out. I was really excited to see Godzilla return to his home at Toho after over a decade of absence, with creepy trailers and a terrifying Godzilla design that actually looked pretty practical. But when it came out, it had some mixed opinions. Many swore for it being the best, while others said it was one of the most boring. Personally, this is one of the best of the best. For one, it's not at all directly connected to the original. Like, at all. It's a straight-up modern remake of the original '54 film, which I'm sure was a kicker to 2014, giving me exactly what I wanted. Second, the origin of Godzilla being from Fukushima rather than the Hiroshima bombings is a brilliantly ballsy way to re-establish the monster's creation. Third, the cinematography, effects, and music are brilliant. This is from the creators of Neon Genesis Evangelion, so their strange and disturbing visuals add to the horrors of the film. Fourth, the tone acting as more of a realistic simulation of humanity's reactions to a Godzilla event is well executed and shows how unprepared for the unknown humanity truly is. And considering the last 2 years, it makes the film more believable, seeing the politics and tactics from a real-world reacting being more in line with the original in terms of creating themes and lessons for the audience. But the biggest thing the movie has going for it is in its design of the character of Godzilla. Not just a freakish design of nuclear scarring and injuries right in your face, but a real sense of horror and sympathy for the monster. When you see him angry and stomping around, you feel a sense of dread and an inability to escape. But when he's tumbling around and roaring with all his might, you can tell the creature is in constant pain both physically and emotionally. It's almost begging to be killed, but can't control its self-defense mechanisms with its mutated body, from evolving like a Pokemon to bleeding in the streets, and even his atomic fire coming from all directions, from the tail, spines, and breathing fire, making it less of an attack and more like it's throwing up, like it was incredibly sick. It's unnerving and something that gives me chills and fears as the original did. It's also the first Godzilla film since 1984 that the monster is alone, only battling the military, and the action scenes are tense, engaging, and horrific. Sure, the pacing is a little off, and the Funimation dub is a little distracting with Skune Ano's voice actor and the title character.
With me? But why?
A man who foresaw the coming of that creature many years before it ravaged your country.
Look at what? No, I can't look there!
But much like the reception of '98 to the retaliation of Godzilla 2000, it gave me everything I wanted from the 2014 film that the monster's original creators, Toho, fixed, and in a way is the 1976 King Kong of the franchise. From the tone, camera work, design, and even an unnerving ending that begs to break out of its shell, or in this case its tail, Shin Godzilla is a modern remake that respects the themes of the original and worth watching to get the chilling horrors of what the King of the Monsters was created and stood for. Number 2. Gojira. With the remake being number 3, it makes sense to make the original number 2. And yep, I'm no exception in saying that this film is a definitive classic and a wonderful piece of filmmaking. The iconic story of a monster awakened from the effects of the atomic bombs dropped on Japan and humanity's attempts to destroy the monster and realize the consequences of one of the most destructive weapons of humanity. Producer Tomoyuki Tanaka and director Ishiro Honda delivered an important piece of cinema inspired for the love of the original King Kong and the frustrations of their people being used as guinea pigs for nuclear destruction, especially after the Lucky Dragon incident, which occurred early on the exact same year. The effects for the time were groundbreaking, and the dark and gritty cinematography gave a haunting feeling of dread, and both original Japanese and American cuts deliver the same horrors and thrills all over the world. So much so that some Italians did try to colorize the film in a very primitive format in the mid-70s. It made so much, it delivered so much, gave so much, and inspired so much from many of our best filmmakers, from Steven Spielberg to John Carpenter.
It suddenly is a Godzilla movie, and I just have only dreamed about making one of these as a child.
Yeah.
As a grown-up, I'm ashamed of myself.
And close to 70 years and many movies of total destruction owe many thanks to this film and what it stood for. So, if you're a Godzilla beginner, it's best to start here with the original 1954 classic, Godzilla. Now, this is already a minority opinionated list, but what the hell could top the original 1954 film? Well, the answer may surprise you, or be expected. But before we get to number 1, here's a few honorable mentions that didn't really make the list, but I wanted to include anyway. Godzilla vs. Megalon. Considered one of the more kid-friendly and frankly worse, I like this one for one simple reason. Jet Jaguar. Nuff said.
Jet Jaguar, Jet Jaguar, Yatta de Jaguar.
Godzilla 2000. The first of the Millennium series and retaliation of 1988, but a well-shot movie with some of Godzilla's best destructive sequences and a battle with one of his more obscure enemies with Orga. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. One of the best to be sure, and one of the most impressive in the visual effects. With an intriguing plot of time travel, re-establishing Godzilla as a dinosaur, and a decent storyline involving a World War II veteran and Godzilla himself. This one's definitely worth a watch, and one of the most fan-favorite of the series. Godzilla vs. Gigan. A trippy entry to be sure, but makes up for it with the introduction of Gigan as one of my favorites in the King of the Monsters Rogues Gallery. Seriously, this thing's fucking creepy. And finally, Godzilla vs. Kong. It may not make the list, but it's a fun ride with two monsters finally rematching each other over 60 years of waiting. Check out my review with the Angry Video Game Nerd for a more detailed analysis. But now with that out of the way, the only question remains...
Well, who's number 1?
And the number 1 goddamn Godzilla movie is... Godzilla vs. Destroyer! Holy shit, this movie is not only a thrill ride, but it's an emotional roller coaster and a grand finale lover to the character. After 40 years of thrilling audiences and a new series starting to show fading out, Toho decided to not only make this the final film of the Heisei era, but at the time, the final film of the Godzilla series. And what a grand finale it is, tying directly to the consequences of the original film's use of the oxygen destroyer, which killed the original creature, creating a new species in its 40-year break with the devil of the kaiju world, Destroyer! Yes, I'm doing what everybody else does. Thanks, nerd. And it seems humanity's only hope lies with Godzilla, who unfortunately is a problem in of himself, with his heart becoming a nuclear reactor that could wipe out the planet and the entire fucking universe, with it making it obvious that this is not only the last film, but the fact that Godzilla will ultimately die.
Godzilla's final fight will be a memorable one. The 42-year-old monster will finally meet his end. Godzilla will die. But don't be surprised if he shows up in the Western world sometime soon. In fact, TriStar, the U.S. film company, has bought the rights to make one Godzilla movie.
Personally, I'm looking forward to seeing Godzilla in the U.S.
I'm a Godzilla fan, so I want to see the American Godzilla movie.
Bravo.
Why am I laughing?
The news obviously broke fast throughout the world around the same time as many pop culture characters were taking reinventions with death and resurrections, with the likes of Batman Nightfall and the death of Superman in the comics. But in this case, the film carries the weight of emotions for Godzilla's final stand against his most powerful opponent. His design in the suit, constantly looking hot, painful, and smoking off, is sympathetic and terrifying. The destruction and effects went all out and are an epic spectacle, and for many of the original creators, this was practically their swan song and knew how they wanted to end it, especially producer Tomoyuki Tanaka, which would pass away shortly after the film's release. Destoroyah's design is massively hell on earth and terrifying, coming off as if the death of the original Godzilla created the devil on earth. It's so well tied to the original, showcasing clips and flashbacks from the film, but also has the return of characters from the original. It's a nice gift wrapped in a nice line for the fans, and Godzilla's final stand is epic, tragic, and by the end as he dies, has me cry every time I watch it, no doubt thanks to Akira Ifukube's haunting yet my personal favorite track of the master's work with Requiem. Sure, it ends with a light of hope with the theory that Godzilla transitioned his powers to his son, but I don't know, I feel like that final shot is less Godzilla Jr. and more Godzilla Spirit saying goodbye. It's a choose-your-thought ending for the audience, closing with the credits showing clips from the previous film with one of the best variants of the classic theme. I know we got more amazing films afterwards, but had this been the final legit film of the series, I honestly would have been satisfied. But metaphorically, this is still an amazing final film for the character. And personally, after a tear-dropping ending, is a standing ovation for me, which is why Godzilla vs. Destoroyah is for me the #1 best goddamn Godzilla movie. And there you have it, folks, my top 10 goddamn Godzilla movies. They're all nicely wrapped up, and it feels really good to finally give this series a much-needed opinionated analysis. And having to watch the majority of them again for this list, my interest is still enjoyable for the franchise. From its dark allegorical themes of man-made destruction to the charming kid-friendly action and adventures and the amazing to cheap special effects, Godzilla is pretty much here to stay in the pop culture landscape. In fact, more movies along with other giant monster movies and TV shows are being made as we speak. But it shows the power the franchise has with its audience and why it continues to grow. The simple concept of a dinosaur wrecking a city and the drug-inducing characters and adventures that followed is really awe-inspiring for the imagination of kids and filmmakers around the world. And honestly, the entire franchise alone is worth a 10 out of 10. It's got its moments here and there that are both good and bad, but again, Godzilla's legacy is so iconic, you can't help but give it a high recommendation. And with that said, what's your thoughts on the series, and what are your personal favorite Godzilla movies? There's 37 movies and spin-offs galore out there, for fuck's sake. So leave a comment on your favorite incarnation of this Japanese icon below. For as much as I love my boy King Kong, it's good to know that rival or ally Godzilla is a worthy brother of the giant monster fandom. All hail to the King of the Monsters as the 70-year undefeated champion prehistoric fire-breathing dragon beast from the East. And no, this is not going to turn into a kaiju-based YouTube channel. There's too much a variety of films that I like to cover and review outside of that genre. But you can check out the majority of the SS Kaiju Guard crew for more of your kaiju fix, from JTISREBORN, Nick Jackson, Kaiju Network, D-Man 1954, and Monstrosities for more insight. So until the next video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms signing off, saying Happy Halloween! Where, if I have to fight Godzilla in this fucking episode, I'm gonna—
It's more of a mech than a dinosaur, darling. After all, it is Halloween.
18? Holy shit, love! I've missed you, babe! It's been forever!
3 years, kid. You haven't aged a day.
3 years, but 30. But look at you! Did you get an upgrade?
I guess you could say that.
Wow, that's really impressive. I mean, It's not like we had to recast you during the pandemic or anything.
That's so COVID on BJF is canceled.
Wait a minute! How did you find the new location without enemy forces tracking you down?
I can hide and conserve my power levels, remember? Also, you trusted me with a tracker to find you. Heard about what happened after I left. Sorry about your house, kid.
I have insurance! At least I think I do.
Or let them know they can reach Geico 24/7 using the latest technology.
Still looking for the gauntlet?
Yeah, I got somebody on it. No luck on finding Unit 205, though.
Found it.
What?
There, on the outskirts of the city. It's around the Don Valley, buried by a lot of green, near an old abandoned highway.
And it's clear Dr. Terawat must be hiding there. That was the last time we tracked his signal and all that's needed to rebuild the fictional dimensional transporter. All of it lies within that facility.
It's going to be tough to get to. I flew in early yesterday to survey everything. Looks like enemies on all sides. The invasion's already started. Not just here, but throughout the entire fictional worlds. They want to attack here first, though.
So getting there is going to be difficult. So be it. Stay put until I contact you.
Stay put? Where do you think you're going?
I'm going in alone. Once I get a hold of everything and get in contact with Dr. Terawat, we're bringing everyone in.
Everyone?
Everyone. I've kept things rather peaceful for the last 20 years since the Great War ended. Best to prepare for its return.
I should be going with you. Don't get cocky, kid. Remember, I can still lift a house.
Not this time. Send word to all of our allies here and in reach of the fictional realms. Our power cells are being replicated, so get a hold of Bruce to ship them to my tracker. After that, meet me at the rendezvous point. The one we've been planning for over a year now since the studio base blew up. Okay. I'll call you up if I need an ass kicking, okay?
Good luck, kid.
Okay then. Well, Jack, this is it. This could be the start of something new, or your final adventure. Make it count. Activate coordinates. Hope to find you there, Doc. You're our only hope.
Commander, construction on Project 7421 is complete and ready for full operation.
Very good. And what of the whereabouts of Patient 92?
We have him traced, sir. He's been spotted in the outskirts of the city, thanks to witnesses from our intel of dimensional energy seen throughout.
So he still has tech to travel between worlds. We must accelerate our plans. The Master has sent us advanced orders. Bring him.
Everyone, sir? Yes, sir.